The Magic Mike Show, where you hear the experts speak. The Magic Mike Show. Tune into the show every week. The Magic Mike Show. You can trust the show is the bomb because it's being brought to you by RacingDudes.com.
What's up, everybody? It's Magic, just Magic today. Mike Somich is out sick, so we're going to carry on without him and wearing my Somobomb's Bomb Squad shirt in his support. But sorry for the delay. I can't even pretend to blame it on Mike because obviously he's not here. Right as I was sitting down and about to start the show, I realized I've got laundry still going that I need to switch over because otherwise the old ladies in this complex, they get real mad at you. So had to be a good neighbor real quick, which meant I had to delay the start of the show. But glad to see everybody in the chat. Congrats to Dr. Tang. He was named King of the Turf at Kentucky Downs. And just the true epitome of how a little, just being right once or twice can make or break your entire day at Kentucky Downs. He had two races he was right on, but he pressed his opinions where it counted, and so he got the job done. So he says it's still in shock, but it's good to be king. Also probably in shock because we had an earthquake this morning that rocked our area pretty good. So everybody's okay, but it was pretty bumpy there. Listen, often imitated, never duplicated, buddy. You can try and get, also BS, your belt looks nice. They called it a boxing belt, and I started laughing. I was like, that's all right. Let Dr. Tang in the official press release have his boxing belt. I still got a wrestling belt. That's I know, but so if you don't know, the prize along with the shit ton of money that an already rich person just adds to his Scrooge McDuck vault is that he also gets a replica boxing belt. Not as cool as a wrestling belt, but similar. They commemorate that he's king there. So he's obviously can't be king of the fantasy league, so he's got to try and get the next best thing. Speaking of next best things, I'm here. Mike's off, but because Mike's gone, we're going to take advantage of that and go to Churchill Downs because they've got a big weekend. As of we're live right now on Thursday, September 12th. It is opening night tonight at Churchill Downs. So we've got nighttime action happening for the month of September, which is always exciting. And you've got this weekend the first prep races for the Kentucky Derby and the Kentucky Oaks. Think about that. It's September 12th. We're already talking about Derby and Oaks preps. We got the Iroquois, we got the Pocahontas. 4 of the 5 races are stakes, and then we end with the 2-year-old maiden race going a mile and a 16th. So it's going to be fun. Like I mentioned, Dennis, if you're paying attention, Mike is sick, so it's just me. But good to see you're paying attention like usual, my friend. But I'm going to do something a little different here. I'll go through the fields and kind of give you my quick thoughts on each horse in the races. And as we go, I'll tell you who I'm using. So that way there's a little bit more of a preview other than me just saying, here, I'm doing this, I'm doing this, I'm doing this, and we're done. And we get out of here. But you know what time it is. It's time to go Rise Up. We have just a perfect technical show. I don't have to mute myself because I'm the only one talking, and I'm hitting the right thing, the right buttons and such as we go. Anyways, first leg of the Churchill Downs, late pick 5 on Saturday, September 14th. Race 7 is the Grade 2 Locust Grove Stakes. We've got 8 fillies and mares routing a mile and a 16th in this one, and what a way to kick off a late pick 5. Churchill Downs, by the way, it's all dirt this entire meet. The turf course troubles at Churchill continue. This is year 3 of this shit happening now. They still can't get a good turf course there, but it's all dirt all meet long. So just keep that in mind. I also see some horses shipped to California, to New York that would otherwise be in Kentucky trying to find that kind of higher level turf racing. So keep that in mind when you see lots of shippers. But anyways, here in the Locust Grove, the first horse is Musical Mischief. She's 8-1. And this is a Michael McCarthy trainee that's actually made 5 starts this year, but only one of them has been in California. She was second at Keeneland in a tough mile and a 16th race. She was second in the DuPont Stakes at Pimlico over kind of Preakness week. She won 2 races back going this mile and a 16th here at Churchill Downs. It was in the mud, but we are forecast. Dennis corrected. He's local. Correct me if I'm wrong, but we're still looking at about a 30-40% chance of rain Saturday afternoon, evening. Let me know in the chat. And then last time out, she tried a mile at Ellis Park in the Groupie Doll Stakes. You remember at Ellis, a mile, it's kind of like Saratoga where they got to shoot on the back or on the first turn. And so that it's like a 3-turn mile, or not like, sorry, not 3, 1.5 turn mile. So anyways, she's got, she's a good forward placing, but she's not, I think, impossible. The problem is that she's faced horses like Shotgun Hottie, who is in this race, and Shotgun Hottie beat her by almost 6 lengths. I think she's a decent horse underneath, but I'm not going to try and play her to win, but you're going to get a good price on her. The 2 is Free Like a Girl. This filly, she's a daughter of El Deal, so she's a granddaughter of Munning, so she's got that sprintiness to her, but she's 5 years old. This will be her 42nd career start. She's got 18 wins and 11 second place finishes. She's a workhorse. She's loved to show up and do her job. Now, I'm not using her, and my knocks on her are twofold. One, if you look at when she faces competition similar to this, 2 races back, she was in the Fleur de Lis going a mile and 1/8 here. She was last of 6 in that field. And Shotgun Hottie was second, missed by a neck. Tax was a really close third. And she wasn't anywhere seen. But all of her graded stakes company tries, they're That's the best you can kind of say, is just kind of she was second in the La Troyenne Stakes in the slop here, but she beat Pretty Mischievous, and that's the best Pretty Mischievous looked all year. Darth Vader was in there, and then Zagura just absolute no-show. So it wasn't like she, beat anybody behind her in that spot. She's a sprinter too, kind of where I'm going with her. So I'm going to pass on the 2, Free Like a Girl. And 7-2, she's going to be I think probably the second choice in this race. The 3 is Taxed. Randy Morris trains this one. Brian Hernandez is going to be aboard. I'm going too deep in this race. She's not my top pick, but I'm going to put Taxed on the ticket. There's a lot of speed in this race, and you've got horses like Free Like a Girl that are better for going, 1 turn, and they're going to try and go 2, and I don't know that speed's going to be able to stretch out as well. Tax's best spots when she's running, when she's winning, are when she's got something to chase. Remember last year she won the Black Eyed Susan Stakes. She had a good stalking trip, and everything kind of collapsed in front of her. Faiza for Bob Baffert couldn't hold on. Actually ended up being 3rd that day. It was super disappointing. But even in the fantasy, when she was running behind Wet Paint, sure, she got beat by Wet Paint, but Wet Paint went off favored in the Kentucky Oaks that year. And Tax was a really good second, and it was coming from off the pace. 2 races back, the Fleur de Lis, she kind of broke on top, and there wasn't a ton of pace in there. And so she found herself on the front end, and I think that isn't her preferred running style. I think you're giving her something to chase, and going longer than the 1 mile Groupie Doll last out, I think will help her. So she's 2 for 5 at Churchill. I think the Tax is going to get a good trip. And again, it's worth noting, I think, that Brian Hernandez Jr. is going to ride here because he could be riding for Kenny McPeak a little bit later. We'll talk about that horse. The 4 is Loved, and you guys know how much I love Brendan Walsh and Tyler Gaffleone, and I'm not using her. Her 2 dud efforts in her career, she's 4 for 7. 3 dud efforts, but 1 was her debut, and then she missed 13 months after that. So she clearly just wasn't ready. But she's 4. So if you ignore that, that's the only time she tried sprinting. She's 4 for 6 route races. The 2 times that she's not won, she finished well beaten 4th. It was the 2 times that she's tried graded stakes race company. And it's the 2 times that she's tried racing without Lasix. And if I look at her running style, where she's forwardly placed in both of those 4th place efforts, and then she suddenly fades badly in the stretch when she really needs to be running, I'm noticing a pattern, and that's that she's bleeding and she needs Lasix to run. And so because it's graded stakes race and because she's without Lasix, this hurts my soul. I'm going against Loved. And if I needed another reason to be against Loved, it's Dennis Trusty's top pick. So that works out well. No, Dennis said, in all seriousness, she's your top pick. Since I don't have Mike Somich here to rebut me, Dennis, tell me why you would use her, why you're your top pick. Because I'm saying without the Lasix and because she's training graded stakes company, it's not going to work. The 5 is Pigalle. I'll move on. Winner in 3 of her last 4, including the Groupie Doll Stakes. She's progressing pretty nicely for Tommy Drury, and she's got the breeding where you would think that the distance is an issue. She's 3 for 6 with 3 seconds on fast dirt. She's got a win in her only wet dirt try, so she's really solid on the dirt. But it's a big class test. And I was really interested in trying to work Pigalle onto my ticket. And if you like her, 8-1, you're getting a great price on a filly who is progressing. But this is a big step up in competition from the 30,000 starter allowance, the 50,000 starter allowance, the first level allowance that she had to try 3 times to beat but she did win the Groupie Doll Stakes. And she did that from coming from way off the pace when usually she's a front runner. So things to like about her, just not going to make it on my ticket. The 6 is Corningstone, Kenny McPeak. This is the one I said Hernandez has aboard her last 2 starts. He has been aboard her for almost a dozen in her career. He's Kenny McPeak's top rider, and Brian Hernandez Jr. is going to be on the 3 tacks, who was riding the last 3 starts, sure. And maybe they committed here first before Corningstone, but you got to think that Brian would ride for Kenny McPeak if the filly was worth anything. But in Corningstone's favor, first off, Julian LePeroux, he's 21% riding for McPeak at Churchill Downs. This horse has got to win in 2 seconds at Churchill Downs, including going a mile and 1/8 against second level allowance company 2 races back. She shows up with a great effort. I think she's another one, if you want to use underneath, is a great choice. She doesn't need the lead. She's going to be coming late, but her buyer speed figures, I mean, she's had 19 career starts and she's never gone above an 83. She's consistently giving you that like 80, 81, 82 range. And actually, if you look at 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6 of her last 7 races, it was a buyer of 80, 81, or 82. The only one outlier is a 76. You know what you're going to get with her, and I don't think it's good enough to win this race. The 7 Shotgun Hottie, top pick for me, 2-1 morning line favorite. She's cutting back from 3 straight mile and 1/8 races. She's a horse that likes to stalk. 4 of her 6 career wins have been at this mile and 1/16 distance, so I think that's good for her. Cherie DeVoe, we know how much everybody on this channel loves Cherie DeVoe horses. And she just keeps showing up, and she was second to Raging Sea as the favorite in the Grade 2 Chuvy last out. But then we saw Raging Sea just come back and win the Grade 1 Personal Ensign. She's now won 5 of her last 6 races, Raging Sea. So a good horse to finish second to. So Shotgun Hottie, top pick for me. I think she gets the right trip, and she's got Jose Ortiz aboard. And then the last one is the 8 Hoosier Filly. 3 for 4 at Churchill Downs. You got to like that. 2 for 6 at the distance, but she's another one. She'll pop up and run like a mid-80s buyer, 84, 86, which at her career best was the Grade 3 Shawnee. She got an 86 over this course and distance, but she was 4th that day. And it's just, I've never been a huge fan of Hoosier Filly. Sorry, Shotty, but I'm going to pass on Hoosier Filly. So for me, I'm just going 3-7 in this race. And I saw Save the Clock Tower. Love the name. Is going 7-4. I know Dennis's top pick is the 4. Is it loved it. It's just tough for me to do that. You're liking the 4. Listen, my concerns are the lack of Lasix and the step up in competition. You know, she's 4th in her 2 Grade 3 tries, and this is a tougher spot. But I love Gaff Leone and I love Brendan Walsh. So it breaks my heart to go into number 4, loved. Second leg of the late pick 5 at Churchill Downs. It's race 8, the Grade 3 Pocahontas Stakes. And this is a 1-turn mile event for 2-year-old fillies. We've got 14 of them entered, plus 2 also eligibles. And it is the first Kentucky Oaks prep race for the 2025 running. And it's September 12th. That's nuts to me. That's really nuts to me. I'm going to try and go through these fields quickly because it's a big field. The 3 2-year-old races we have, there's big fields. So I'm going to try and go through this. Otherwise, it's going to be a really long show. And you guys don't want that. The number 1 Chattanooga Crew. I went 5 deep. By the way, I tried structuring my ticket around having as many bullets possible for this race as I could because I think this one's wide open. Chattanooga Crew made the ticket for me, 20-1. She debuted going a mile on the turf at Ellis Park. In July, the only time you can get a 2-year-old race to go a mile is if it's on the turf. I don't think that they thought she was meant for the turf. Nobody better to be meant for the turf. She didn't run like she was best on turf, although she did, finish 5th, beaten 3 lengths, and was within a length of the leader various points in the stretch. So she wasn't horrible. Then she got on the dirt and she beat horses at 7 furlongs, at Ellis Park by almost 5 lengths. And she was the 59-cent favorite to do that. Now, it was an optional claiming race, and she wasn't in for that optional claiming tag, but you had to have sold at an auction for $50,000 or less, or be in for that $50K optional tag. So it was a restricted race, and she got a low buyer of 59 out of it. But I just thought that the progression that she took, I think she's meant for 2 turns. And this is the kind of thing Kenny McPeak does. And we always say we got this McPeak at a price with his top rider, Brian Hernandez Jr., a filly that didn't really cost them much money, just $50,000. and took a logical step forward. And you can point to signs of why this horse could have done it. So this is my wild shot, though. If you don't want to go super deep, this would be probably the first one to take off here. Dennis, there we go. I'm with you on this one. All right, number 2 horse, Icona Mama, won the debut at Churchill Downs on the synthetic. A good second in the Bolton Landing Stakes at Saratoga. However, she was 29-1 that day, and it was an off-turf race, so I'm not going to read too much into it. Decent effort, a big improvement speed figure-wise, but I'm also not using, spoiler alert, I'm not going to use the winner of the Bolton Landing in my ticket either, Kimchi Cat, so that might be to my detriment. Kimchi Cat brings in some good form, and the horse that we're going to talk about next is number 3, La Cara, won her race, her 4th career start last out by 8 lengths. Big win, right? Race before that, she was 4th to Kimchi Cat in the maiden special weight at Saratoga. So she's coming out of good races. That she was a good second at Churchill Downs, their 2nd career start. She's progressing. I'm really afraid of this horse bouncing like a rubber ball because she got an 84 buyer for dominating horses at 7 furlongs. The 3rd place horse, quick kick, came back to win. But I'm worried Lacara's going to be way over bet here. And so I'm going to take a shot against her because I'm really afraid that she's going to bounce. The 4 horses, Empirical Mischief, 20-1 for trainer John Ennis, won the 2nd career start at Ellis Park, going 6 furlongs. Not impossible. That's about all I could say here, but the horse was not bad at all on debut. Usually if Ennis has a horse that's halfway decent, it's getting play on debut. 27-1. And then $6.75 in the 2nd career start. I'll pass on the horse. Also, by the way, the final furlong in that race was 13.08 seconds. That's very slow for a horse that you now are asking to stretch out even further in distance. 5 Hearts United, 30-1 long shot. Tried the similar McPeak angle is the one. Tried the turf route on debut, last of 11 throughout the entire race. However, did come back to win the next start, which was a 6 furlong dirt sprint, beat Peanut Gallery. Peanut Gallery won his next start, which was a turf route at Horseshoe Indianapolis. I saw that when I was live on FanDuel TV the other day, actually. That's why that name was familiar. But that was maiden $30,000 claimers. And now you're stepping up to a grade 3 event. Nope. This one would be a huge shock. Also, it's worth noting Brian Hernandez Jr. was aboard both horses for McPeak 2 times each. He's on the 1. Le Peroux shows up here. No, I think it's not for me. The 6, pretty sure, 12-1. This is another horse that's going to make my ticket. And actually is my top pick at 12-1. First of all, improbable. Aside from this horse, his debut horses as a freshman sire, 2 for 39. There's only been 3 horses, including this one, that have won for on debut for improbable. So already showing some good talent. Got a good 67 buyer for that debut win, and didn't break super sharp, which might be to her detriment here. She's gonna need to break better in her 2nd career start, but then ranged up really well under Luan Machado and just circled right around and cleared right off. And you don't see that from many horses, male or female, on debut at 2. And so with that kind of talent and willingness to do that, shows you a rare level of precocity that I think is going to really take her a long ways in this race. It also helps that her damn beautician won her debut at 2 at Churchill Downs. Then she was 2nd in the grade 3 Skylarville. She was 2nd in the grade 1 Spinaway, and she was 2nd, beaten less than a length in the Breeders' Cup Juvenile Fillies. So a lot of precocity at stakes level competition, going longer on the distances. So I really like the 6. And again, 12-1 top pick for me. The 7, Quinn's Promise, 10-1. Another one that made the ticket for me, Dale Romans and Martin Chouan, jockey. They had themselves a really nice meet at Ellis Park this year, 16% winners, $2.91 ROI. And it's because of horses like Quinn's Promise. 3rd on debut at 23.5-1. Good 3rd. That was in the mud, going 5.5. Then stretched out to the mile and broke the maiden by a neck. Had to fight hard on the front end to do it. 2nd place from that race, Jewel Destiny, won next out with an 80 buyer. 3rd place won the PG Johnson Stakes on the Saratoga turf next time out. So 2 horses with the next out efforts that really make you go, oh shit. So, and lastly, that was another muddy race, muddy sealed track. So the horse has 2 races on a wet track. If it ends up being wet on Saturday, I think that's another point in her favor. And kind of like I said with the McPeak horse, the one Chattanooga Crew, this is the kind of horse Dale Romans wins these races with. 10-1, never really bet, and you just kind of sit there and afterwards go, man, that sucks. He can do it with this horse. And Dale Romans, you know me if you watch this show or listen to this channel much, I'm not a big Dale Romans fan. I think he can get Quinn's Promise to pull the upset. Number 8, Atomic City, winner on debut at Churchill Downs, going 6 furlongs, and then was third, beaten 12 lengths in the Grade 3 Adirondack, going 6.5 furlongs. That Adirondack was the wackiest race, right, where you had a horse. No, that's not the one where things went nuts for Queen's MG. That's when she won the previous race. I was thinking of the Schuylerville when everything went stupid crazy in that race. Queen's MG won that race by 9 lengths. She's super talented, so not a horrible one to be finishing third to. Eddie Keneally trains this one. Luis Saez is not aboard. Luan Machado is going to be riding this horse for the first time. And then Doc said that he likes Atomic City, and he likes the 6 as well. Pretty sure who was my top pick. Listen, I'm not a huge fan of this horse, Atomic City. I would be a little bit surprised if she won. I think she's talented enough to hit the board, but winning, she's not on the ticket for me. The number 9, Strong State. I went back and forth. I ultimately put this horse on my ticket. Didn't get any bet on debut, but she's trained by Al Stall Jr. You don't bet Al Stall on debut. He old school, runs his horses into racing condition, and she showed that next out when she was favored with Irad aboard and got the win. It's a really nice 77 buyer, big progression in the second start. Last time out, tried the Grade 1 spin away, and she broke poorly, kind of like she did, or had a rough start on her debut. And then she just didn't really have any kind of run to her. She passed some tired horses, but she actually lost ground a little bit late on the winner, Immersive. But Stall adds the blinkers and Irad stays aboard. And that tells me that Irad likes the horse and also told Stall, put some blinkers on her for her next start. She's by Tom Zaytot. She's out of Colonel John Mare. So I think 2 turns is definitely her future. We'll see if this 1-turn mile is something she can handle. I went back and forth on her. At 5-1, I was like, I don't know. But because it's Irad and him staying on after that dull effort last out, I'm going to keep her. On the ticket, the 10, Lady Catherine, won that broke the maiden in the third start, third on debut, second, first. So some good progression there, but only got a 72 buyer in that win, and it was a almost a 13.2 second final furlong to break the maiden. So don't love that. I'm going to pass on her because I think she might be a little slow. She also was ahead behind Lacara, who I talked about earlier. I'm not using Lacara in here. And again, that was on her debut, but yeah, just not for me. The number 11, West Memorial, George Weaver trains this one. Second by ahead to the Queen's MG. That's really good considering the Queen's MG's done this year. And then won the Kentucky Juvenile in her second career start. That was over the boys. I think that's worth noting as well. But then she went to the Astoria Stakes at Saratoga, her first start in the Weaver barn. He was suspended, so was assistant Peter Julius trained. Well beaten 5th. Then tried the Schuylerville Stakes. Well beaten 9th. They're taking the blinkers off for the first time. Maybe that moves her forward. I don't see anything here to really be that excited about. I think she was super ready early in her career because she's a Johnny Hancock horse, and he does that a lot. Yeah, not for me at this point. The 12 Stilettos, 4-1 is another one. This one, passing in this one might really hurt me, but dominated horses at Lone Star, which means nobody saw it, by 17 lengths. Unthreatened. She's a Texas bred, so that's kind of why she showed up there as well. Although it was open company, it wasn't Texas breds. And then she went to the Debutante Stakes at Ellis Park, and that was a much better effort. Second place horse, Rich City Girl, was 8.5 lengths clear of third. Rich City Girl won a Kentucky Downs allowance next out. I'm going to pass on Stilettos because I think she gets bet down to 6 to 5, 7 to 5 range. She was 90-cent favorite on debut. She was $2.05 second choice in the debutante. She's going to get bet quite heavily here. And she hits a third different rider for her third career start. That's interesting as well. 13, Kimchi Cat, I'm passing on as well. Second on debut, then won broke the maiden at Saratoga, and then won the Bolton Landing Stakes by a little over 3 lengths. Good efforts there. She's continued to progress. I think this is when she's going to bounce here. She's been doing well. All right, I think she might bounce, but she could be something pretty damn awesome as well. And I like Tom A, Mr. Trainer, and I love Tyler Gaffleone. And the 2 wins were the 2 times Gaffleone rode. So could be sleeping on her here, and that might be to my detriment. 14, Liam in the Dust. And this horse won on debut as the $1.04 favorite at Ellis Park, going 7 furlongs. You see a horse debut at 7. That's usually the trainer thinking longer the better for this horse. And I thought was just such an impressive winner. Now, you're going to have to deal with post 14 today, but you got the long backstretch to try and get all the way down and save some ground. On debut, the reason I was doing this move is that she broke from post 7 of 8 and cleared ahead of everybody and was able to cross over. So I'm going to stick with the 14 Liam in the Dust on the ticket at 15-1. It's Luis Saez and Rudy Brissett. She got a 74 buyer for her debut. A step forward from that puts her right there at the top of where all these other horses are. Stilettos, her 2 buyers are 75 and 76, and she's 4-1. And I'm getting Liam in the Dust at 15-1, and I can project more improvement because she'll be going first start to second start. Stiletto's going second to third. So wrap things up for this race. 1, 6, 7, 9, 14 for me in Pocahontas. The third leg of the Churchill Downs Late Pick 5 on September 14th. Race number 9 is the Louisville Thoroughbred Society Stakes and a much smaller field, which will be nice here. 10 males 4 and up, sprinting 6 furlongs. And you've got a couple of big names in this event. The one horse is Gulfstream Way. The horse is making second start of 2024. Was a well-beaten second last time out at Ellis Park, 6.5. The winner and the third place horse are both in this race. The number 2, Close the Game Sugar, 9-5 favorite. Top pick for me in the race. Seems well suited for his usual kind of stalking and swooping trip that he's been using to great success this year. He's 2 for 3 at Churchill Downs. The one time he lost, he finished second. That was after an 8-month layoff, and it was also his first time ever racing on dirt. And he's 2 for 4 at the distance with a pair of seconds, including last time out at Del Mar in the Grade 1 Bing Crosby behind the Chosen Brawn, who's just, despite the fact he lost the 7 furlong Pat O'Brien, there are a few horses as tough at 6 furlongs as the Chosen Brawn. So not a bad second to have there. The third horse is Cyclone Mischief. This horse is 12-1. Dale Romans beat optional claimers last time out after a stalking trip. There's only 5 horses. We know what this horse is. He's usually a disappointment. This is not the spot to play him. If he wins, I'll let him beat me. Totally fine. The 4, My Buddy B, 10-1, won a small stakes race, at Parks, going 6.5. I'm trying not to sneeze. 3 races back was second beaten in neck in a 6 furlong sprint at Presque Isle on the synthetic. And before that, he won a 6 furlong off turf race. At Mountaineer. Sorry about that. And that was a huge win. It was by 10 lengths, but again, it was a Mountaineer and it was an off turf race. The horse is 6 for 9 on a fast dirt. He's 2 for 3 on wet dirt. He's never faced anything close to this class level. So another horse, the 4, My Buddy B, I'll let beat me. The 5, Disco Ball. I use this horse 12-1. I went too deep. I went 2-5 in this race. It's unbelievable the magic that David Jacobson has been able to pull with a horse getting this deep into a 7-year-old campaign. So David Jacobson tried to claim the horse out of the March 29th win at Santa Anita. It was a voided claim for $32,000. Jacobson bought him and then had the horse run one time for Merton Cantermassey at Delaware Park back in June. The horse won by 5 lengths. Out of that, then and then went to Delaware Park for another race, and the slop won that by 9. And then last time out, went to Saratoga and beat a good optional claiming field by 3 lengths. And he's in like career best form at the end of his 7-year-old campaign. Jacobson got his hands on him and says, "Watch me work." So I'm going to put the horse on. I think if there's an upset, this is the most likely horse to upset it, and you're getting Luis Saez to ride a horse that just loves to gun and fight. He's 4 for 9 at the 6 furlong distance, which means he's 2 for 15 at any other distance. He's only missed the board, the trifecta, once in 9 tries at 6 furlongs. So he loves the distance. He loves to fight. He seems to be in career best form. Number 6, Hear My Song, winner of the Jeff Hill Memorial Stakes at Ellis Park by over 5 lengths, beat Gulfstream Way, who we've already talked about. Happy as a choice. The 7 horse was 3rd in that race. Hear My Song is almost won the Churchill Downs, the Grade 1 race back in May. And before that, he won the Commonwealth Stakes at Keeneland in 2023. But I think this is a horse that's better at 6.5, 7 than he is at 6 furlongs. Aristides Stakes, 6 furlongs here, well beaten fourth. You look back to previous dirt 6 furlong races, it just really doesn't shape up. So I'm going to pass on the 6. The 7, Happy, is a choice. Picking him as a choice. It's not one I'm going to take here. A horse runs better when he's on Lasix than when he's off. The 2 times that he's tried Stakes Company, well beaten third in both. So I'll pass there. The 8, Maniwa, is 20-1. Another one that I'll pass on. Maniwa's days are well behind him. He's just 1 for 10 lifetime at Churchill Downs. And he's now in the John Ennis barn for the 2nd time. So best of luck to him. I don't think he's got a shot. The 9 is Necker Island. Chris Hartman trains this one, and I'm worried about leaving this horse off. He's 5 for 16 at Churchill Downs. He's 2 for 2 on a wet dirt track. So depending if we get moisture, that makes him a little more dangerous. He's riding the 2-race win streak. This will be the 3rd start of the form cycle for him, but it is a much tougher edge or tougher competition than he's had to face recently. And you look, when he faced horses that he's facing today, Skelly, Gulfstream Way, Maniwa, he just didn't show up against them. So going to safely take a pass on the 9 and just hope that the wet track doesn't move him up. And then the 10, Skelly. It hurt to leave this horse off, but I think he's got a couple things going against him. He has a little bit of trouble breaking this year. The 2 times that he lost, the Aristides, the Vanderbilt, he didn't have the best start out of the gate, and now he's drawn the outside post 10. I think he's probably the fastest horse early in this field, but now he's got to cross over everybody. It's not a super short run into that turn, going 6 furlongs at Churchill. And yeah, I'm going to take a shot against him here. I think he's a great horse to key in the exact. He's never missed the exact at Churchill Downs. He's, 16 starts at the distance. He's got 10 wins in 5 seconds. So he shows up and gives a great effort. I also think he's going to get bet heavily, and I'm already using close the game sugar, so I didn't want to use both. But if you want to go 210 in here, I wouldn't blame you. I just was trying to find that wacky horse that might upset things. Race 10, it's the penultimate leg of the late pick 5 at Churchill Downs on Saturday, September 14th. Forgot what month we're in. It's been this is what happens when you talk for 35 straight minutes. The Grade 3 Iroquois Stakes is the first Kentucky Derby prep race that we have for next year's running. So I'll take you through the field real quick and let you know where I went. I ended up going 3 deep here, and I left off the 1 First Resort, but I didn't want to. I like this horse. I think that the mile might be slightly longer than he'll ultimately want to run. I think he's a great 7 furlong horse, but who knows? He could get the mile job done. Broke the maiden on debut at Ellis Park by 3.5 lengths. It was in the mud, so if it's a really muddy track on Saturday, I think that moves him up. Owen Hardy, if you weren't paying attention to Ellis Park, was on fire. 4 of the 7 2-year-olds that he had, they were all debuting. 4 of the 7 won. He had a 787 ROI. Like, he was killing it from a perspective of debuting 2-year-olds. And I picked him to win the Saratoga Special because his barn was so hot, and he got Pratt to ride this horse. And a 9-1, I got a great price on him, just didn't get the win. Showcase was a nice winner of the Saratoga Special. I think the rail's going to hurt him a little bit. There's a lot of speed in here. And again, with the dam side, the dam was she won the Grade 1 La Brea, but she didn't do anything beyond 6.5, 7 furlongs. So she didn't do any winning that far. And Street Boss is her sire. So I'm leaning towards this horse being better, like a 7 furlong, 6.5 furlong race. The 2 is Giacoso. Keith DeSormo brings this one in. This is kind of that classic DeSormo horse where he runs it at 2 turns, and because the only time this horse could run on 2 turns, it was in the turf races in July and August. He showed up there and got a win in a really close second in the other spot, and the win was by over 6 lengths. So really impressive horse. Now, the dam side does happen to have some turf breeding to it, and it doesn't really have much as far as the dirt side goes. But Giacoso at 10-1. Would it shock me if this horse won? Absolutely not. Because it's DeSormo just bringing a turf horse over to the dirt that's already got that longer distance experience. We've seen him do it multiple times in the past. And I think Giacoso, maybe this is a little early for him. I think I would play this horse, like the Gun Runner, the LeCompte. Like, that's where Keith will show up a lot of times, even the Kentucky Jockey Club. And you're like, this horse doesn't fit here. And bam, nails you. The 3 Jack's Time I didn't use, but would be tickled pink if this horse won. Kelly Von Hemel trains this horse. If you know the racing dudes, Kelly Von Hemels he's like the main trainer that kind of helped Aaron get started with a lot of like his training questions or, getting in the mind of a trainer. Just a wonderful guy. And his son is a jerk, but I really like Kelly a lot. So it'd be great to see if Jack's time did. This horse was a super impressive debut winner. Didn't break all that well. Was on the rail, and then under his own power, just sailed around there effortlessly. And it was very impressive. You never see an Iowa bred race like that. Gets a nice 75 buyer, but yes, it was Prairie Meadows. It was 5.5 furlongs, and the dam side is a bit sprinty. So I'm not playing the horse, but I think this is one hell of a fun horse. And Kelly Von Hemel never takes the horse breaking the maiden on debut at Prairie Meadows. So let's go into a grade 2 or grade 3 race for the Kentucky Derby points races. So they really think highly of this one. Aaron talks more about it on the preview for this race over on the channel. You can check that out. The 4 Authentic Strike did make the ticket for me as well. I thought that was a really impressive debut effort. Yes, it was gate to wire and there's a lot of speed signed on, but it's how he did it. The horses that were pressing him early, second and third, he ended up beating them by quite a ways. And Kinetic Control came up and is the one that almost caught him. I thought that was a really impressive effort to get up there or to hold off the horses rather that were coming. And so second time out now, Saya stays aboard. And Authentic Strike, the 4 horse, was 99-cent favorite on debut and is now 12-1 because of the level of competition he's playing. I think this horse has got a ton of ability to make it two for 2 and getting a great price on the 4. So this horse is on the ticket for me. The 5-0 and Almighty taking a pass on your 5-2 morning line favorite. This horse has run 2 great races back to back. Was a $1.40 favorite and won by 3.5. Was a 67-cent favorite and won by almost 5 in the Kentucky Juvenile or the Ellis Park Juvenile Stakes, I should say. 83, 84 buyers. Both of those, a little progression from there would win this race, but taking a pass on this horse because of the value. I think that this horse is, 83 to 84. I didn't see any progression buyer speed figure wise from the horse. And I know this horse is going to get bet heavily. And I am using another horse that I think is going to take a ton of money. So I'm going to pass on the 5-0 Almighty, anticipating that he'll bounce, but wouldn't shock me if he won. The 6 is Strummin, 12-1 for this horse. Was second to West Memorial in the Kentucky Juvenile Stakes. West Memorial in the Pocahontas because she's a filly. Lots of seconds and thirds. Tried the turf. That didn't work out well. And then finally broke the maiden going a mile at Ellis Park. We've seen what this horse can do, and I don't think any of it's been good enough. Horse breaks slowly a lot. You see, 9 lengths behind at first call, 5 lengths, 7 lengths, 5 lengths, 7 lengths, 6 lengths. This horse is always leaving himself with a lot to do. Maybe he could come running late and fill out your trifecta, but that's as far as I go. The 7 Sandman, the second of 3 horses I'm going to use on here, got bet huge on debut, $1.04 favorite. It's a $1.2 million son of Tappet, so plenty to like about this horse. And then he just didn't run well and probably just got, what did Mark Cassidy say? He was frazzled, totally frazzled, he said the horse was. But then he came back for his second start, and it was at Saratoga, going 7 furlongs, and he looked really impressive. And I thought it was a big step forward. He got an 81 buyer. He's in danger of bouncing, but not as much as I think, say, the 5, who's held steady. Those 2 buyer speed figures didn't progress from start 1 to start 2. The 8 is Magnitude for Steve Asmussen. Tyler Gaffalione going to be aboard. An intriguing one. The horse was pretty well bet in both starts. The first one was 5.5 at Churchill Downs. It was okay. Conquering Cat is Nick Seaver's horse. Nick Seaver's a good friend of the show and sometimes guest analyst. So Conquering Cat is his horse and was the winner. Magnitude, not a terrible effort to be 4th, beat over half the field. And then came back and won by almost 6 lengths, going 7 furlongs at Ellis Park and got a really nice buyer speed figure in that spot. I tried hard to put the 8 Magnitude onto my ticket because I think he's got a pretty nice future ahead. And, his speed figure is almost identical to the 7 Sandman, and I'm using the 7. I think that the 8's got a lot of talent, and it wouldn't shock me if he won this. It just would piss me off because I wanted to fit him on and ultimately went with the 7 instead. The 9 is Firmus for Wayne Catalano, won the debut, but it was a pretty slow speed figure, and the horse went 13 seconds in the final furlong of a 6 furlong dirt sprint. Don't love the horse's chances, stretching out a little bit farther. The 10, Jonathan's Way, top pick for me, 9-2, and it was also Aaron Halterman's top pick if you watched the preview, spoiler alert. But it's not just the 85 buyer speed figure, it's what this horse did. So they broke fine. Everybody in the field broke fine, and then they quickly kind of squeezed Jonathan's Way back to the back of the field, and so he spots them 4+ lengths. And as they're going down the backstretch through the turn, he just under his own power is just moving up. And then he goes 4 wide, 5 wide through the whole turn to get around everybody, take the lead. He powers away to win by over 4 lengths. Second place is almost 6 lengths clear of third. So dominating maiden special weights at Saratoga in a way that you really don't see very often. But the biggest thing that I noticed was that while he was running 4 wide off the turn from the half-mile pole, from a half mile into the race to 3/4 of a mile into the race, he went 11.59 seconds. That's fucking flying. To go 11-3 at that point in the race with that wide of a trip after that kind of a break, and then sustain it and draw off to win the way he did in 12-2. It's such an impressive effort, I thought, for the 10 Jonathan's Way. I just hope he doesn't get bet too heavily, but Aaron's top pick, my top pick. A couple more to go through. The 11, Macero won the debut after breaking poorly. Second place horse, True Violence, came back and won next out with a 67 buyer. Neither of those speed figures are good enough to even hit the board in this race. No, you said the 10 on the preview. Oh, well, Aaron's wrong then. Aaron's top pick is the 5. Never mind. My bad. Good to have you in the chat, Aaron. Thanks for that. Anyway, the 11, Macero, slow speed figure, 65 for the debut win. Came in the mud, so you got that going for you. And a better break. Maybe the horse wins by more than a length and 3/4. But just not for me. The 12, Politically Correct, is the last one. Chris Davis trainee won the first 2 races, including the Bashford Manor, and then went to the Juvenile at Ellis Park and got past in the stretch like he was tied to the 8th pole. Got destroyed by Owen Almighty, who is Aaron Halterman's top pick. And I could have sworn that you went with the 10. You were between the 5 and the 10, and you went with the 5. But anyways, the 5, if I'm not using, there's no way in hell I'm using the 12. I don't see any way that horse can turn the tables on the 5 with as badly as he got beat. All right, one more race to go. The 11th and final race at Churchill Downs on Saturday, September 14th. This was a doozy. I thought the Pocahontas was really tough. This one, I was like, gee, oh, God, this is tough. Maiden special weight race, 2-year-olds, all colts, 12 of them plus an also eligible. Mile and a 16th, 2 turns. And we've got to try and figure out who's going to close out this race, or this sequence by winning this race. The number 11, Kinetic Control, is going to take a lot of attention here. We'll start with the 1, Maiden, 20-1 on this horse on debut. Never did any running, broke 12th of 12 in a 7 furlong sprint at Ellis Park. The winner was Authentic Strike, who's on my ticket in the Iroquois Stakes. Second, beaten just a neck, is Kinetic Control. Spoiler alert, also the top pick for me, or not top pick, but also on the ticket for me in this race. This horse didn't do any running and also was 58-1. Nobody expected this son of Maximum Security to do that. Now has to break from the rail. Maybe the horse breaks better with the second career start, but there's nothing really on the page to make me think this horse has got any kind of a chance here. The 2, Homer's Odyssey, Steve Asmussen trains this one. Eric Asmussen, his son, will be back aboard. 2 career starts, both of them routes, both of them on the turf. They came at Ellis Park. Now, Giacoso was second in this horse's debut and then won the second race that this horse was in. So if Giacoso pulls the upset in the Iroquois Stakes, Homer's Odyssey might really be live in this spot. Is it not this time? Not this time. Horses can run on turf, dirt, whatever. I mean, he trains Kalleward for crying out loud. Of course, he can sire a turf horse. The dam side is all very, very turfy. Very, very turfy. So I think that's why they started the horse on the turf. It has the 2-turn experience, which I think goes in his favor, but you have to wonder, will he be able to handle the dirt this time around? The 3, Monet's Magic, another horse that on debut at Ellis Park, then that Authentic Strike race, not bet, 25-1, did no running, 11th of 12, beaten 32 lengths. Needs a better start, and I think easier level of competition than what he's going to face here. The 4, Handsome Pants, I believe is the only horse making the debut in the entire field. Yeah, that's crazy. You got a field of 13 2-year-old males, maiden special weight, and only one of them is making the debut. It's pretty rare. Kenny McPeak trains this one, Son of Daredevil. The dam is Miss a Bomb by a Lemon Drop Kid. She was a pretty decent horse. She won her debut at 2. She got that going for you if you like the 4. She was a multiple stakes winner on synthetic, but they were at 6 furlongs. And I don't know that 2 turns is where this horse will be best at based off that, but I don't think McPeak would be debuting this horse specifically in a 2-turn race. Sorry, my nose is itching me like crazy today. I don't think McPeak would debut him in this spot if he wasn't a 2-turn horse. The 5, Tickled Quist. Boy, this is a Tickled Quist. Brad Cox is a tough one. Tickled Pink is the dam. Nyquist is the sire. Brad Cox trains this one and was a lukewarm 4-1 in a mile race at Ellis Park for the debut. Didn't break well, was stuck wide, didn't finish well, was 5th of 11, beaten 7 lengths. Never did any running, but it's Brad Cox and it's Florent Giroux riding. It's going to attract a lot of attention. 7-2 for this horse. I'm going to pass. If you like this horse, go ahead. Just, it just is not for me. Based off what I saw, they wasn't bet, so Brad Cox didn't think that this horse was going to be anything special. The favorite in that race was $2.88. Tickle Quist was the $4.07 second choice. Nobody knew who was going to run in that race, and Tickle Quist did not run. So the 6, So Sandy, Cherie DeVoe trains this one. Ellis Park debut in the Authentic Strike race, was 9th, beaten 15.5 lengths after breaking 10th. Never a factor. 19-1, wasn't bet. Maybe he takes a step forward. He's by Omaha Beach out of a Tappet mare, although the Tappet mare had only one good race to her credit, and it was a 6.5 furlong synthetic sprint. We'll see what So Sandy can do. There's some win early pedigree with the siblings. This is actually the only of the 4 siblings to race by the dam. This is the only one that didn't hit the board. They got to win in 2/3, so that's interesting. The 7, Desert Air, top pick for me in this race. That's right, I said it. Top pick. And you might be surprised, I was, because the horse that beat him on debut, Firmus, I'm not using in the Iroquois Stakes. But Desert Air really impressed me with what he was able to do for his debut. He showed really good speed, was second or first through all the points of call. There was a 3-way battle on the front end before this horse ends up finishing 3rd. He was 8 lengths clear and 9 lengths clear of the 2 horses that pushed him in that race. He was much better than those 2 horses. Just got caught by horses coming from well out of it. The dam, Georgia, she's by Tiz Wonderful. She had 2 wins in the stakes placing, going a mile, so there's plenty of distance pedigree on the dam side. 1,000 Words has been really good as a sire so far. 6 for 33 with the first-time starters. 14 for 70 overall at 2. That's a 20% win rate. That's really good. 1,000 Words, a sire of the Queen's MG, for example. The 8, Seattle Road, adds blinkers here for trainer Tom Amos. Second career start, debuted on the turf at Saratoga. Broke last of 10, improved to 9th at one point, but was pretty much 10th throughout. No, I mean, maybe the horse takes a major step forward adding the blinkers, but not going to be for. I will say, in Amos's credit, first time blinkers of 14% with a $4.62 ROI. Going turf to dirt, 29%. There was nothing about that debut, and nobody thought the horse would run on debut. So to get you excited, the dam was 2 for 9 overall, but she needed 4 starts to break her maiden. She was 3 when she did it. She was later stakes placed in the Grade 3 Remington Park Oaks, but a little bit of time might be needed for the 8 Seattle Road. The 9 Cooper, son of Nyquist, out of a Bernardini mare, Godolphin homebred. Broke okay on debut from the rail, dropped way back on the inside into the turn, and faded to be 8th of 9. Not a good effort, but the second place horse, Dapper Moon, did win next time out. This is a horse that's a half to Jefferson Street. If you remember, Jefferson Street was at Saratoga. Had that like 106 buyer for a 6.5 furlong sprint race. There's some talent in the bloodlines, but not for me in this spot. I think 2 turns is not great. Dennis says the 9-10 could improve. The 9 could improve. Being not on the rail is going to help. Same for the 10 Thunderhawk, who also had to deal with the rail. The 10 Thunderhawk is the second horse that's going to be on the ticket for me. So I'm 7-10 so far. Son of Vekoma, who has been an unbelievable sire so far. This horse had to deal with breaking from the rail in the mud on a sealed surface and actually broke well and set the pressured pace on the inside. The winner, Macero, is in the Grade 3 Iroquois. Second place horse, True Violence, won next out. The 67 buyer that True Violence got is not good enough for the Iroquois. It's better than what every horse in this race, except for the morning line favorite, has run, and is 5 points off of that. So good horses to be running behind on debut. And again, was, setting a pressured pace from the inside in the mud, breaking from the rail. Second time out with that experience and being from post 10 is going to help tremendously for the 10 Thunderhawk. Although I hope he doesn't get shuffled too far wide. that's kind of the issue, right? Going 2 turns from the 10 post. But you got Louis Saez aboard. I trust him as much as I trust anyone not named Flavian Pratt. Yeah, Nick Stevens, I mentioned he's in the chat. Good to see Nick. We were talking about Conquering Cat earlier, and Conquering Cat by Vekoma. And Nick hated Vekoma as a horse, loves him as a sire because of Conquering Cat. A couple left to go here. The number 11, Kinetic Control, 3-1. Dale Romans trains this one. A good second in that Authentic Strike race, was beaten just a neck. But remember, an Authentic Strike, I'm using the Iroquois. You better believe I'm using the 11 Kinetic Control. Now, a couple things to knock on this horse. He's going to get overbet, right? Especially if Authentic Strike does okay in the Iroquois Stakes. And he's got the outside post. Those 2 things I don't love. But I think this horse showed that he's got the talent to get the job done, and Corey Lannery keeps the mount. Number 12, Abby Fetty. I think John Ennis trains this one. 5th on debut in a maiden optional claiming race. Was not up for the tag. But just a $25,000 son of Entice, so he qualified okay for it, or qualified for that race. He was okay in that race. John Ennis, second start, maiden, 17% with a positive ROI. Yeah, just not for me. It's kind of one pace in that race. Might be better going 2 turns, but yeah, this horse would really need to take a step forward, and I don't see it coming this race. And then the also eligible is the 13 Ripped. G. Wayne Lucas trains this one for BC Stables, a $650,000 son of City of Light. BC Stables went ham at the at some of those sales trying to get horses. This horse was 6th, beaten 18 lengths behind Ferocious in Saratoga Maiden Special Weight. Ferocious was that really impressive debut winner by almost 8 lengths, and ended up being 2nd, beaten a half length in the Grade 1 Hopeful. So good horse to finish behind, but Rip's gonna have to deal with that outside post and the fact that you've got Jomar. Well, is that Jomar? No, it's not Jomar Torres. I'm used to handicapping a different circuit. Jaime Torres. This is going to be a board for D. Wayne Lucas. So if you this guy, he's the great connection. So you've got that going for you. But I'll pass on the 13 Ripped. I'll let him beat me eventually, or hopefully not at all. Whew, we did it. 52 minutes of me talking about the late pick 5 and every single horse in it. That was an exercise. Thank you, everybody, for joining me for this one. I'll go ahead and post my ticket one last time and read that out for you guys. To start this off, I'm going to go 3-7 with 1, 6, 7, 9, 14, with 2, 5, with 4, 7, 10, with 7, 10, 11. It's a $90 ticket. It is Racing Dudes Podcast Thursday, as Shadi calls it. We already had, this was the last of the podcast to go live today. Dudes Who Bet Sports with college football week 3, week 2 NFL picks. That went live earlier. Papa Dude and Aaron crushed it last week. I saw in the YouTube comments people going, man, I wish I tuned in on time. I could have taken advantage of the Friday prices, the Thursday price. If you're going to bet football, get to that ASAP, because there's going to be lots of timely information there and some big upsets that they're predicting, just like they predicted last week. So go check that out on the YouTube channel. Also, I have Blinkers Off, where Aaron and Jared went through the Iroquois, the Pocahontas. They also talked Breeders' Cup at Woodbine this weekend. I almost did a solo Woodbine show, but I didn't think I could. I couldn't do Woodbine solo by myself. I'm just not good enough to do that track yet. But the Summer Stakes for the Breeders' Cup Juvenile Turf, the Natalma Stakes for Breeders' Cup Juvenile Fillies Turf, the Woodbine Mile has been a big producer of horses winning the Breeders' Cup Mile. That the prep races this week. I mean, we're talking World Approval, Master of the Seas. Who am I forgetting? I just forgot the other one. Modern Games. How could I forget Modern Games? Who also, by the way, won the Summer Stakes and then won the Breeders' Cup Juvenile Turf, and we were robbed, and I'll never forgive them for that. But I will never be thankful enough to all of you who stuck with me, over 300 of you, catching the live show here as one person talked about all of this. Do me a favor, hit like on the video, subscribe to youtube.com/racingdudes, and visit racingdudes.com for free picks for every race, every track, all year long, including Churchill Downs and Woodbine and Gulfstream and more. And Aaron and I will be live here at 2:45 Pacific, so in about 38 minutes, right? If I did the math right. 48 minutes. See, that's the one thing I can't do still. 48 minutes. We'll be live covering Hawthorne's late pick 3. We'll have the races live streamed here, so you'll be seeing what we're seeing, and we'll talk about it as it pops up there. Would really love to see you guys over there for that one. But until next time, I'm Magic. Feel better, Mike. See you next time.
The Magic Mike Show, where you hear the experts speak. The Magic Mike Show. Tune into the show every week. The Magic Mike Show. You can trust the show is the bomb because it's being brought to you by RacingDudes.com.